We've got a driving test leaving from Birmingham Garretts Green. This one went out about 9 o'clock on the morning in a weekday. It was the school holidays is one thing to bear in mind. And it goes towards the Radley's roundabout and then towards the Swan Centre. I do have the score sheet for this one, so any faults that happens will be popping up on the screen as they happen. As always, if you guys find these videos useful, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe as it helps boost the algorithm. If you're watching on any other platform than YouTube, you may have a slightly shortened version. Now, the road isn't looking too bad today. The left is nice and clear, few cars coming towards them, nothing major. There isn't that huge queue that you see sometimes. And here's that queue. Looks like I spoke too soon. As we all know, this is on a hill, so clutch control is going to be crucial here. Remember as well, always leave that entrance you see to the left clear, because if a truck does come down and want to enter it, you could be blocking the entire road. They've been asked to take the next road on the right, and my learner has done this road plenty of times. I think the pressure gets too much for them and they do go to enter that first road that you see. As we all know, that is a no entry road, so the examiner did take control and moved them back over to the correct one. So we're literally only 3-4 minutes into their test, and unfortunately that does go down as a serious fault. Now, it is the very beginning of their test, and because the examiner took control, they do know at this point that they have failed. It would be very, very hard to keep your focus, especially knowing that you've got a dangerous fault that quickly on. But let's see how the rest of the test pans out. And one thing to point out as well is even if you think that you failed, just keep driving exactly how you would. But the reason is for this is sometimes the examiner might verbally tell you something and it doesn't necessarily mean that you failed. So no matter what you think the result is, remember you still need to complete the test safely at the end of the day. So drive as if nothing had happened. Plus you paid for that time, so you might as well make the most of it. So down this road we can see it is extremely tight. There is going to be a lot of winding in and out between all these parked cars. Look ahead nice and early so that way you can plan your gaps ahead of time. Don't leave it till you have no choice to squeeze into the tiniest little gap. And remember, when you come off this roundabout, immediately scan the crossing, see if anyone's going to be using it. So we all know the roundabout that's coming up is quite busy, it's on a hill, it can be quite tricky. Main thing is with this roundabout is take your time. You might be there for a good long moment and it feels like a gap's never going to appear. One gap will always appear. So remember, you're not going to get marked down for hesitation if there isn't any safe gaps. Now, Malona was quite fortunate with this one. It was perfectly empty. They saw their opportunity, they took it. Down this stretch here, you'll notice there's quite hard knocks as they go over the speed bumps. The speed down here was roughly about 31 miles an hour. They didn't reduce their speed at all for the bumps and hit them quite harshly. Remember, speed bumps are there to slow you down. So down this stretch here, they did pick up a fault for that because they were hitting those speed bumps very hard. I know nobody likes them, but speed bumps are there to make us reduce our speed. Normally it's in built up areas or by schools. At the moment it's a fairly easy stretch down this road, not huge amounts go on. It is fairly common to get something like emergency stop or parallel park down here, depending on what's going on the road at the time. Now this is a T-junction that gets fairly busy. Sometimes you might be waiting there quite a while, it's not the easiest to see what's coming around. On this stretch it does get quite narrow. So remember, less space, less speed. It doesn't mean you have to be going 30 just because it's a 30. If it's not safe to do so, don't do it. And they have their hill start here. As you can see, it is really quite steep. They did pick up a fault for move off safety here. The observations were done, but they were in a slightly different order. What I mean by that is if you observe and then start preparing the car, your observations might get old. I believe there was a little bit of a gap between the observations and when they moved off, so they did get a mark for move off safety. It could have also have been if they didn't check a certain shoulder. I only know that it happened there and not quite sure why, but there are a few of the reasons why. Notice how they held back for this truck. That was probably the best thing to do in that moment, as if it had continued, it would have been a tight squeeze. You'll notice that at this pullover there was a few cars behind them. As long as you put your signals on nice and early, then there is no problem. They can move their way around you. So if the examiner asks you to pull over on a busy road, don't panic. During the parallel park, you'll notice it does take a good few attempts. They make a few adjustments, but it wasn't quite there. And at this point, they knew they already had a serious fault, so they decided to leave it and not bother correcting it after a few attempts. And you know what, in this situation, I can't really blame them either. But because they didn't manage to complete the maneuver, they did get another serious fault. I think at this point, they just want to get back to the test centre. Down this stretch you'll notice they pull over just because space is severely restricted. Best thing to do. If you don't know, it's best not to go, and doing that ensured that all cars had a safe gap all around them. Now with what's coming up, I'm not really quite sure what happened. I believe that the car was in too high of a gear which made the power cut out. Now because they've stalled on the middle of the road, there was other cars around at that time and they had to avoid her, that would go down as a third serious fault. Now, we're in quite a strange situation here where they've got more serious faults than they have with driving faults. You don't really see it too often, but remember, they do know that they failed at the beginning of their test and their mind's not going to be all there. Test nerves can make a huge difference to how somebody drives. And you'll notice they held back for that large vehicle. Perfect thing to do. It definitely would not be safe to try and continue that. Now at this point there's only one way they can go, which is left, and that is it. And you've got the usual tight roads down here. You're going to be doing a lot of weaving in and out of the traffic. Now they did have one fault for mirrors changing direction, which more than likely was down this street. So I'm going to pop it here. This stretch down here, not too much going on at all, and we do know that it's near the end of the test. The test centre is very close, so it's the home stretch, it's all nearly over. And this is the point where things get extremely tight, so don't be shocked if you have to hold back. So guys, that is the end of the test. It's a bit of an odd one with 3 serious faults and 3 driving faults. And the faults that happened at the very beginning, the learner had gone through before, but remember, people get very nervous on test day. So in the comments section, please be nice, and you don't know what the student's going through when they're sat there in that car or how they feel how anxious they get, etc. So any mean comments will be deleted. Now there is many more tests to go. I hope you guys find this useful and see you again soon. Thanks so much.